So in regard to this extreme violence that you just keep hearing repeated ad nauseum, let's take a look at that. First, these are Black Lives Matter protests. These protests are standing up against police brutality. The police and the feds, that came after them, that are still currently occupying as I record this, they've met this call against police brutality with more police brutality. Make no mistake that the reports you've heard about protesters throwing water bottles and cans of food and rocks and bricks are also greatly exaggerated. And, very importantly, they are in direct response to police brutality. These are not the things that provoked it. So next, I'd like to acknowledge that the people throwing these things are about 20 or so people out of thousands. And when they throw these things, they are lobbing them in a high arch over an 8-foot fence toward police that were standing more than 20 feet away. It didn't come anywhere near them. This was an expression of anger over the rampant police brutality across the country, specifically targeted and killing Black people for decades upon decades. Frankly, I think these protesters are showing great restraint, especially in the face of unprovoked police violence every night for 62 days and counting. Feds arrived to ostensibly protect the courthouse, protect this federal building from, graffiti and broken windows instead of, protecting American citizens from being brutalized and protecting their constitutional right to assemble. A few, again less than 20, a few protesters have been spraying silly string, lobbing trash over the new 8-foot tall fence, trying to cut through the fence, shaking the fence, and they're shooting fireworks purposely over the heads of the feds. The feds are not even a little bit fazed by these fireworks coming over them. They are not in danger. They are not even afraid. I would like us to remember both the Portland police and the feds during this so-called violence from the protesters throwing these small items towards them. They are in full riot gear and or body armor, military-grade protection against physical harm. They're armed with high-powered rifles, stun grenades, and various forms of chemical weapons like tear gas, pepper spray, mace, and atomsite, which is also known as DM gas. These chemical weapons are illegal to use on foreign citizens, even foreign adversaries, because they've been outlawed by the Geneva Convention, but apparently it's totally fine to poison your own citizens. So, even if you are someone who thinks that lobbing trash over a fence is provoking them, then I hope you can agree that the violent officer response is grossly disproportionate. They detonate canisters of these chemical weapons in the middle of protesters who are nowhere near the fence, not the ones throwing stuff over, gassing them during a pandemic, I might add, which has been causing hours of vomiting and, in some cases, the need for hospitalization for respiratory distress. These police, these officers, these feds also directly shoot at these unarmed protesters. Not shooting in an arc over the head, directly shooting at their heads or at their bodies, point blank range from high velocity rifles. You may have heard about these rubber bullets, and rubber bullets kind of makes them sound like a step above Nerf darts. But in reality, these rubber bullets have lead interiors and they're covered with a hard rubber. Protesters have received painful, bloody contusions all over their bodies, torso, arms, legs, broken bones, and in one case, a fractured skull that required reconstructive surgery and caused likely permanent brain damage. What did Donovan do to provoke such an attack? He stood across the street from a line of feds, holding up a radio, a la Say Anything, playing a peaceful song. The feds threw some type of canister at his feet. Donovan tosses it back to the middle of the street, doesn't throw it back at the cops, and they shot him.